Hello and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk about the experiences shaping exceptional lives. And on the show today, I have Chris Freer. Chris is in the UK. You'd never know it. He looks like he's right next door. And Chris is an amazing story. His story you're going to hear today is just astounding. His health took a dive. He's been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is one of the most devastating diseases known to man, I think. And he's beat it. And he's going to tell his story today. We don't have a ton of time, but I'm just really excited for you to learn about what he's doing to help people, not only with debilitating disease, but also in their life. And so Chris had I'll go through his bio here real quick. Lived with a chronic health condition called multiple sclerosis. For the first 8 to 10 years were hell, right? Tell us about what that meant. What does that mean when you say that those years were hell?
Okay, so when I got diagnosed, I got engulfed with all the negative messages that are attached to these types of incurable chronic health conditions like multiple sclerosis. I did exactly what the neurologist told me not to do, and that was visit Dr. Google.
Mm-hmm.
And I got swamped really with what if, what is going to happen? The anxiety started to kick in. I was then told I was relapsing remitting, and I was put on quite powerful disease modifying drugs. The drug that I was put on was Rebif, and I do believe it's been withdrawn in the American market now. I'm not sure about that, but I do believe it has been withdrawn. And I was told that go away and live your life, and this drug will slow the progress of the condition, and it probably won't affect you for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
But that
so
really wasn't.
You were at that time, you accepted that, and you got the medication and you were on their program, right?
Absolutely. I was still, and listen, I'm going to say this right at the beginning.
Okay.
I'm not a health professional.
Okay.
I'm not anti-pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And I'm not suggesting anybody who listens to this doesn't take the advice of their health professional. Okay. I want to state that right at the beginning.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. But I was very much in the mindset that the doctor knows best. In reality, I was brought up that doctors was almost like God,
Sure. Yeah, me too.
They know best. And if that's what the doctor was saying to me, that's it. That's what I was going to do. I was going to inject myself 3 times a week with this drug and do all the things that he told me to do. But I just got worse.
Mm.
It wasn't slowing. It wasn't holding it. It was getting worse, And
so what do you mean getting worse? What were some of the things that were happening to you when you say worse? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, MS started for me. I did start off.
MS is like different for everybody, right? It's like this neurological disorder, but it can affect different people in different ways. And there's really no one size fits all with it.
No.
So, but you had certain things that were affecting your life and your ability to have a good life, right?
Yeah. Anywhere in your in your nervous system, apart from the autonomic nervous system that runs your heart and your lungs and all them bits that you don't think about doing.
Right.
MS can affect you anywhere, in the brain and in your limbs. And for me, it started in my bladder, really. That's where it started. My bladder health was getting worse. My walking health was getting worse. It affected my left leg to a huge degree, really.
Mm-hmm.
I had foot drop. I was falling a lot. you know. In fact, I got extremely good at falling. You know, I became an expert at it. I was a bit like a paratrooper, I think, you know.
Yeah.
But it was getting worse, and also my cognitive thinking. You know, they call it brain fog, really,
Okay.
but cognitive thinking. My concentration and my fatigue levels was like off the scale, really.
So tired all the time.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I often felt like I was walking through treacle,
Okay.
syrup, you know, that sort of thing. And and I just became, I slipped into depression over it, really, because
Hmm.
before that, I mean, I had what I considered to be a very affluent life, you know.
Yeah. So you
I,
had a family, you have family, you had
yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah,
kids.
yeah. I've got 4 children. Yeah, 3
Okay.
grandchildren now. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
yeah. But yeah, I was just getting worse, and my first wife, um, and this happens to a lot of people that get diagnosed with these kinds of conditions. So you know, don't think that I'm throwing stones or anything like that. But she decided that she wanted a divorce because she didn't particularly sign up to be married to someone who was ill, you know, and with all the horror stories that are attached to this condition, you know,
Yeah.
I can kind of understand it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, but that's like devastating for you to
But
be in
it
that
was at the
position.
time. It was at the time. Yes. Yeah. And it brought me to a place where I was so depressed, really, that I didn't feel as if I had anything to live for, and I thought that the world would be better off without me in it.
Hmm.
And on a day in May 2007, I went out and had a serious attempt to end my life.
And how old were you?
Oh, I was probably, what is I, 40, 45, 46, 47, I think, something like that.
That's like
Uh,
the prime of your life.
50. No, do you know what? That's a really good question, Jim. I've never been asked that. I'm not sure. I don't know whether I think I was, you know, in my late 40s then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's like the best years, should be the best years of your life. And this disease is taking all of that away from you. And
yeah, well, I
you,
had a fantastic lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, so what happened from there? You had an event. Um,
Yeah.
you obviously recovered from that. You were unsuccessful. Yay.
Well, yeah, let's call it an incomplete attempt. Yes,
Okay. All right.
because I think you know that there's, I mean, especially in this country, that we're trying to work on these negative words that are around suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's comfortable to talk about. It's not something that we talk about every day. And I
no,
think it's around us more than we think because people don't exhibit symptoms like, or wear a badge around and say, well, I'm thinking about committing suicide right now. And, so how do you know when to ask them, hey, is everything okay? Are you okay right now? Talk to me as a friend. How many times opportunities have we missed not asking that question for people?
in a way, Jim, taking part in podcasts like this amazing podcast, you know, I'm hoping, and us men, we're notoriously bad at talking about our issues, if you like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's
I
the same in.
appreciate you doing that. I mean, this is like an open public forum and you're bearing your soul and your heart. And
Yeah.
most people would
Well,
say, no, I want to keep that private, but you're sharing this in the hope that it will help others.
absolutely, and I hope it will open up conversations for people.
Yeah. So that's why I want to just
Just,
talk frankly about it here to give people that, chance to really experience your experience and
mm,
really understand it. And then not only for people who may be in that situation, but also those people who are around them So they recognize that there's, there's hurt going on, and it's good to be proactive and ask, how can I help you? How are you? Right? So that those situations don't happen. I digress. What's the next part of your story?
Well, I mean, my method of dispatch, if you like, I chose to hurl myself under a heavy goods vehicle, which, I would, what would you call it? A big lorry, like
right, a big truck. Yeah.
And whilst I'd selected the lorry, the large vehicle, I had this thought, and it was as if I'd connected eyes with the lorry driver. I'm sure it was a bit surreal, really, but I suddenly had this thought: what is this act that I'm about to do? What effect is it going to have on him?
But and that's kind of funny, because that's like the last thing. I mean, I've never done this, but I would think that the process of you wanting to do that would be very introspective and kind of selfish. It's like, I'm going to do this, and it's for me, and I'm going to do it now. So I'm just fed up with the situation I'm in right now. And the last thing you'd want to look at is someone else. And have that empathy. That's what was it that you think gave you that vision?
I completely agree with what you just said there. And yes, I was, to that point, I was, but I have since learned that I've always been, in a way, like a people pleaser, really. I've always put other people's needs before my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what saved me that day, because I hesitated, and I bounced off the side of the lorry, and I was hurt, but I was alive. And that planted this seed in my head of, why did I have, and this is how I was thinking, why did I have compassion for him, but I've never had any compassion for myself, ever? And I didn't think about my children. I didn't think about anybody that loves me or would have missed me or I was leaving behind. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about him, and I wanted to explore that thought.
Okay.
And I can only say that day it planted a seed in my mind that's still growing.
Okay.
It's growing into some sort of beautiful tree, or whatever you want to say, but it's still growing in me, that thirst for knowledge. And I got carted off to hospital. I got what we call in this country, I got sectioned. So I was put into a mental health ward.
Okay.
I was put on antidepressants, but I really didn't want to go down that road. And I got released to a member of my family. I was in what we call over here care in the community. So I had a mental health nurse coming to see me every day.
Okay.
But I was okay, and I opened my mind up, because I was still at this burning thought, well, why have I never had any compassion for myself,
Mm-hmm.
And I started to research that thought, why, and started to learn about psychology and different bits and pieces. But I was also researching about my condition.
Okay.
And I personally believe that the drugs that I was on had an effect on me, which created this depressive event for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was really out of character.
Okay. So the medications that you were on for the MS were having a depressive effect on your mental state.
Yeah.
And the fact that your life was, because of the disease, starting to take some change, make some changes that weren't part of your life plan, like your wife leaving you. I mean, that's a major thing. So I can completely empathize and understand your situation, that, and you know, it's like really tough. But you've taken that experience, you took that experience, and you were able to kind of reset your life from that moment, it sounds like.
I mean, it took a lot of time. You know, these things didn't happen overnight, but I was working on myself. I was working on myself, you know, and I came off of antidepressants, and I remember that my neurologist ordered what is called an enhanced MRI scan, where they stick some dye into you to see what's going on in the brain.
Right.
I got the results of that, and he then told me that I'd now entered the secondary progressive stage of multiple sclerosis. Okay. At that time, there were no disease-modifying drugs available for that stage of MS.
So it was more severe.
Yes, yeah, because when you enter the secondary progressive stage, the illness is, the disease is on you all the time. With relapsing remitting, you have these periods of time where you're, to all intents and purposes, normal, if that is a word, normal. Right. What is normal? But you know, you have these relapses and remissions with rheumatic, you know, where you are, when you have a remission, you're very ill with MS. But with secondary progressive, it's there all the time, and your disability progresses. Yeah, you get worse over a period of time. Yeah,
right.
And he informed me that now that I'd entered that stage, and the way that the illness was actually quite aggressive, if you like, for me. He said, and in view of your mental health state, you know, you need to understand that you are going to be in a wheelchair by 2012.
So this was like within, at this point, how long was that?
It was 4 years.
4 years, okay.
Within 4 years of
that's pretty quick.
Yes, yeah, it was. And actually, Jim, he was right. I was in a wheelchair. Not all the time, but most of my time spent out of doors, I was using a wheelchair to get about.
Yeah.
But like I said, that, you know, I'd started.
How did that feel when you were in that situation?
Well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
to be quite honest with you, I'm really thankful for that experience in my life.
Why is that?
Because I can see life through other people's eyes now. I understand the barriers that people that are using wheelchairs face on a daily basis now, because I'd never seen that. I'd taken it for granted in the past, and that period of my life was a huge learning for me. It really was. You know, I had a situation that a new lady came into my life. Which was amazing, because I didn't think anyone would love me as I was, and she did, and I'm proud to say that she's my wife, and we are very happy together.
Beautiful.
But I was continuing to research, Jim, about, you know, the mind, and also about MS, and I started to find positive stories around this condition. You know, there's a doctor that lives in your country, in New York. I mean, there's Dr. Terry Walls as well, but there's a Dr. Saray Stanzik
Sarah.
Saray Stanek is. She's
Okay.
written a book called What's Missing from Medicine. She's an amazing doctor who lives with a proactive life with MS.
I'd love to put that in the notes.
Yeah, and she's also done a film called Code Blue.
That's right. Now okay. Yeah, you showed me that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's well worth watching that, Jim. It's well worth watching. And I've had the privilege of actually having conversations with her like we are. So
Awesome. Oh, that's
yeah,
fantastic.
so yeah, it's great. But anyway, I was seeking out positive stories around this condition, and I had this light bulb moment for me,
Uh-huh.
and it was a light bulb moment because I suddenly realised that I didn't catch multiple sclerosis. I didn't catch it. I
It's not
can't infect
contagious.
anyone. Yeah, I can't give it to anyone. I'm not infectious. I can't give it to anyone. You can't catch it from me.
Right.
So if I didn't catch it, I started to think, hang on a minute, I must have created this by my lifestyle actions and choices in some way. Yes, I go along with the childhood illnesses, Epstein-Barr, and all. I do accept that there are elements involved in multiple sclerosis, but in the main part, I believed, and I still do believe, that through my actions and my lifestyle, I created an environment within my body
Mm-hmm.
that allowed multiple sclerosis to take hold of me. Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean? What that sounds like to me is that you came to the realization through your studies and through meeting people that have been through similar experiences that
Yeah.
in order for you to get better, you had to take personal responsibility.
Yes. 100% take personal
Okay.
responsibility. Yes.
Okay. So that's a big change. That's like, okay, you're taking over basically where you had put the doctor in that position or the medical establishment.
Yeah, I handed over all of my power to medical practitioners, all of it. But I've taken it back now.
Okay. So what were the implications of that decision for you? How did that affect things?
Well, in the beginning, it didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form because I was seeing my neurologist only on a yearly basis, and it was only really going to see him to see if there had been any breakthroughs in the world of pharmaceuticals
Okay.
for people with secondary progressive,
And in
and
the
every
meantime, your lifestyle was wheelchair bound pretty much out when you're out
yeah.
and about and they're dealing with the situation with your MS. Um, was it painful at all? Was there like bouts of, what was it, anxiety, pain,
Um,
sleeplessness?
there's with MS for me, there's a lot of, I mean, like I say, it's different for everybody, but there
Yeah.
was a lot of neuropathic pain associated with the MS that I had in my spine. Um, Actually, yeah, yeah, painful. And neuropathic pain is a bit like having a massive toothache.
Hmm.
It's one of them pains that you can't get away from. Um,
Yeah. It's like, it's always there nagging.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that probably makes you tired and fatigued, and it's
yeah,
very, and
yeah.
you can't focus or concentrate or enjoy life.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I set out to because I felt that I'd created it. I set out
Hmm.
with an intention, and I'm still in that intention
Okay.
that I'm going to uncreate it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to uncreate it. And the first thing that I cut out of my diet, I cut out all dairy products.
So what was it? Why did you pick that?
Because there's a lot of evidence to show that dairy products are not good for people with multiple sclerosis. If
Okay.
you look at
So
the
you
MS,
started reading and you started
yeah,
educating yourself, gaining knowledge. You were reading in places maybe where the doctors would go to read things or where they could go to read things.
yeah, but they many of them don't. This is the
Right.
problem.
That's a whole different episode.
Yeah, yeah, many of them are done. Many of them don't. You know,
Right.
and I started to change my diet, and
Okay.
I felt as if things were changing. I also started to listen to my body. You know, when I
Interesting.
was eating something, yeah, and actually listen to my body and think and feel how I feel. You know, and I found that I was able to turn that neuropathic pain down.
Okay.
I found that by focusing on what I could do
Uh-huh.
and not focusing on what had been taken from me,
Okay.
I started to regain control over my body and
So
my mind.
huge mindset change.
Yes, yes, yes. And I mean, I've done loads of things, and like I say, I am now primarily plant-based whole food diet.
Okay.
Primarily whole food plant-based. I do eat fish occasionally, but it always has to be responsibly sourced. It's got to be line caught, or I don't eat farmed fish or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, I've learned in my journey that you're eating what you're eating ate.
yeah, yeah,
You got to kind of wrap your head around that. But so
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so you want to make sure where the foods that you are eating are raised in the way that you want to treat your body. You're listening to it, it's telling you things. And so I found out that, yeah, the better I am at being a steward to that, the more my body returns to me in energy and health and vitality.
yeah. I agree with you. You know, it really is about being ethical
Mm-hmm.
and listening and honoring yourself, honoring your body, honoring the food that you're eating. Really, I think
Yeah.
it's important. It's crucially important.
So why is it for you important for that? What is it now? What's what's the consideration for you if you didn't do it that way now? What would happen to you?
For me, I think for me, I have to nourish my body with the best quality products, foods that I can source.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a massive debate going on in this country around the cost of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
actually, eating a whole food, mainly plant-based diet is not expensive for me. You know, because you use everything.
Mm-hmm.
You start consuming a lot less because we do overconsume.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you look
and it
great. Like your physique is like really, you look strong but not overweight, and your skin tone is really healthy, and everything looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I feel great, and I do feel great. You know, and I mean, interestingly, the last time I saw my neurologist, was 2017 when I
Wow,
walked to
6
his
years ago.
surgery. Yeah, I walked into his surgery and he sort of looked at me and he went, what drugs have I put you on? You know, what drug? And
Right.
I said, I'm not on any drugs, doctor. And
Uh,
he looked at me notes and he went, well, what are you doing? You look like you're getting better. And I told him. And
huh.
yeah, I haven't seen it. I see my MS nurses, but I don't see him for whatever reason. I don't know. But anyway, so
Well, sounds like you've moved along, or he's, you've found a way to heal yourself. Um,
I think so. I think that the process. I mean, there's a lot in the process. I mean, I think it's very important to deal with past trauma
mhm.
in our health journeys. I think past trauma can wield a huge power over our health, our inner health. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
you know,
My girlfriend and I have been working with a gentleman named Pete Walker. We've got his book and workbook. And he wrote a book on complex post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD.
yeah,
Yeah, and you'd think, well, why do you need that? I mean, I've lived a great life, but I've still got issues. We all do.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So,
And one person's trauma is another person's walk in the park.
right? Yeah,
And it is. It's literally about how it affects you at the time. And that, if you don't deal with it, continues to affect you,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
So
So how did you, I mean, it's not really intuitive, I don't think, to do what you've been able to do with your life in because and there aren't a lot of resources, and I know especially back at that time there weren't a lot of medical resources available. There's more and more now in functional medicine, and there's several resources now in where I live of doctors that are MDs, and then they've gone ahead and learned the additional functional side, where they actually go in and find the cause of something and then create a solution. And it's not always medications, but you've had to do that on your own. Um,
yes,
and
yeah,
and now you're taking that knowledge and you're helping other people to kind of speed their journey up.
yeah. I hope so. I hope so.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I
So
mean, yeah.
talk about that, if you would. What is it that you're working on today, and how are you helping people today with your background and your story of, basically going into hell, like we talked about at the very beginning, being in a wheelchair, being on meds, getting to a point where your doctor said, sorry, we don't have meds that are, going to help you because you're advancing too far. Your wife leaving you, um, going through some real traumatic situations, and then overcoming so much and reinvesting your life into answering a question: why am I not respecting my body? Why am I not caring more about myself? And I know that, well, I suspect that a lot of people have that same question. And now you're able to come back with your story. This is what, 15 years later now, and you're
Yeah,
thriving.
yeah,
You've remarried. You're no longer wheelchair bound. You're actively pursuing life with a vigor and a verve that's just really impressive. And you're happy, and you just a turnaround. And that's like such a great story. Um, and how are you using that story now to help other people?
well, I do quite a bit of public speaking.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, obviously, you know this, and I'm sure it's exactly the same in America. We have a chronic health condition explosion in our society.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in my mind, we are all responsible for that because we are creating that reality.
Mm.
And I think for me, my mission is to start encouraging other people to look at the choices that they're making,
Mm-hmm.
decide whether they're healthy or not,
Okay.
and take responsibility for their health, and take back your power, take it back, and live a happier, healthier life. It's possible. It is possible. It really is.
So that's beautiful. I have your website up on the,
Okay.
I'm going to share the screen here. This is your website.
It is, yes.
So what you're doing is guiding people towards unlocking a happier, healthier life
Yeah.
and becoming a happier, healthier human.
Yes, absolutely. And I've on this journey of learning for me, I've gained qualifications. I'm an NLP practitioner. I've got a qualification in cognitive behavioral hypnotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
mindset training, coaching, all of that sort of thing. And
So you've got the cred plus the experience.
yes, and I my lived experience gives me empathy with a lot of people as well, because I understand and I know many of the barriers that they face with these
Mm-hmm.
things. So yeah.
So they can, and people can go to your website, upbeatlife.co.uk, and you
Yep.
have looks like an ebook.
I do, yeah, I do. It's about conquering your limiting beliefs.
Okay.
It's just an easy step-by-step guide. The only thing that I ask for is your email address, really,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get that. I want to communicate with as many people as I possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
to enable them and empower them towards a healthier, happier version of themselves.
Excellent.
Everything that's happened to me, Jim, has happened to me for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sense that I make of it really now. I'm passionate about what I do. Really passionate. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing today. I've one more quick question for you. You got time for one more?
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah.
Um, I ask this of everybody on the show. It's taking a look at your whole life in terms of leadership. This is the Bold Leadership Story Show. What's the boldest leadership decision that you've made, and what were the consequences?
Boldest leadership decision I've made
Mm-hmm.
is telling the truth. And the consequences have been that I've lost quite a few people who don't agree with what I'm saying.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I've picked up quite a few haters as well, my friend, you know. So I suppose that's a consequence, but I kind of just love them a little bit more. But yeah, I think the boldest thing that I have done is telling the truth.
Wow. So powerful. Thank you, Chris Freer. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. I can't wait.
All right, cool.